Welcome everybody to Frank Analysis. I'm your host Franco. Today we're going to talk about MPP and how it had a falling out with Our Revolution Ryan Knight. But first, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, share this video, and also follow me on Rockfin. Follow me on Odyssey as well. YouTube has demonetized me. I've explained what happened in another video. But it's completely unfair why it happened. They gave me no legitimate reason. So I'm trying to help people move over to a alternative platforms where they treat me more fairly financially, because I work very hard to create these videos and I see no fair treatment from YouTube from that. I bring people to their platform to watch my videos. Same with all these other channels. I got demonetized, like Combo Couch and Nico House, Grandma Wood. They make all these videos to bring people over to YouTube's platform, and we don't get any financial benefit of it from YouTube. So I've criticized MPP on this channel before. I've had activists on this channel before who criticize MPP because of their treatment on volunteers and activists who wanted to work closely with them. People who believed in them to actually put up a strong enough fight against the establishment, against the Democrats, against the Republicans, pull people out, unite people that are unsatisfied with both parties so that we can actually take them down. There were people, I believed in them. Before I had this channel, I was over at HMO Podcast, which I'm still a part of their network, but before I branched off and created this channel, I would talk about how MPP is something that we need, like a third party that wants to unite people from the right and the left, from the middle, who are unsatisfied with the duopoly, which is really a monopoly because they're owned by the same people. They don't represent the people. But the problem now that I found out as the months went on, as I talked to more people that have had experiences with Movement for a People's Party, is that it is so disorganized. It is so disorganized. They're unoriginal. It's just a Bernie club filled with platitudes that you would hear any former Bernie supporter say without enough substance or detail on how we're going to accomplish these goals. They only have ballot access in Maine, as far as I know. There might be one other state in which they have ballot access in. What Movement for a People's Party really succeeded in doing was gaining attraction from content creators with big platforms like Jimmy Dore, Graham Elwood, Ron Placone. They had people like Peter Kalamas, who was representing them for climate change policies. They had this huge convention where they had Marianne Williamson, they had Cornel West, they had Nina Turner. So they were able to garner that support from big voices. Unfortunately, because of how disorganized they are, it couldn't translate to the public. And it especially couldn't translate to the activists. And now that disorganization became more apparent to people like Ryan Knight and Our Revolution LA. So I'm going to show you some tweets that were released earlier this week. So this is a tweet that Ryan Knight released on February 6th. And he said, "I'm stepping back for now from the advisory council of the People's Party. I believe we need a viable third party in America that represents the interests of people, not corporations. But I believe it must be rooted in socialism. I wish them nothing but solidarity in their vision." So there was not enough detail there. There's a lot missing in what he said. Like it was very short. Like there wasn't much explanation there. But people are believing that it might have something to do with an interview that Howie Hawkins had, in which he said that he wasn't allowed on the People's Party because he was too socialistic. Howie Hawkins and Ryan Knight, in my opinion, are not socialists enough. They're not. Especially if Howie Hawkins was repeating CIA talking points about Russiagate. You guys remember, right? That Primo Nutmeg interview in which he was hyper-criticizing Jill Stein for going to Russia. Well, anyway, Nick Brana responded to what Howie Hawkins said, and he said Howie Hawkins recently gave an interview in which he claimed MPP excluded him from the People's Convention because the Green Party was too socialistic. That is untrue. Socialists did speak at the People's Convention, and we were proud of it. Many of our members are socialists. Nick, I don't think there's enough socialists on there. I wouldn't call Ryan Knight a hardcore socialist. Like people who have a rose next to their name are not true socialists. If you want to know a true socialist, look at Anticonquista. Look at Bay Area 415. Look at Esha from Historically. Look at Caleb Maupin. People who believe too strongly in reforming our country via electoral politics alone aren't hardcore socialists in my opinion. But I could be wrong. Let me know in the comment section if I am. I know I have a lot of audience members who are hardcore socialists, so let me know, please. Is Ryan Knight an actual like hardcore socialist or not? So I responded to this and I said he probably was excluded because he participated in rigging the Green Party primaries, and I've documented what happened on this channel. But if that was the reason, then MPP should say that was the case, right? But I don't know. He's not saying that that's the reason. Like what do you have to lose to call out the Green Party for rigging their elections? You're scared of alienating the Green Party for exposing the truth. There's no denying that the Green Party primary was rigged. So just call it out. You'll gain more respect for speaking truth, you know? So here is the big one. Our Revolution LA, who teamed up with Movement for a People's Party in May of 2020, has now broken away. And here's the statement that they gave. All right, so it says, Our Revolution Los Angeles immediate disaffiliation with People for a Working Democracy and subsidiaries. So it explains the history, you know, how they got together in May of 2020. This was shortly after Bernie Sanders dropped out of the primaries to endorse Joe Biden for the presidential election. So it says, in an effort to build a new political party that truly represents the interests of poor and working people of America, after much deliberation, we have unfortunately decided to part ways with MPP at this time due to differences in opinion and leadership style, including the structure, treatment of volunteers, and method of operations that have become apparent during the past few months. Throughout our work with MPP, several members of our organization have observed troubling components of MPP's organization structure, including non-democratically elected leadership. That's one criticism that people like DJ Elf 7 and other members, like if you're a part of my Discord, that's a criticism a lot of people on there were having, is that it doesn't seem very democratic of MPP if they're just electing leaders rather than having it up for a vote. So it goes on to mention that there's a lack of organizational transparency, lack of member and leadership accountability, and lack of bylaws and rules. Furthermore, our members have observed and experienced a toxic and top-down hierarchical framework within MPP, which we believe is antithetical to the foundation of our motivations to work with them. So the most egregious example of this was when disagreements with the organization leadership was expressed. So that's very similar to what happened to DJ Alf 7 and to the Discord that has 100 members in it with people who left MPP. They try to voice their opinion, and MPP didn't want to accept those opinions. They didn't want to take that advice, and then they shut those people out or kick those members out of the organization. So it goes on to say also those speaking up, as well as many who did not express discontent were removed from the organization, branded as quote-unquote infiltrators, and accused of leeching members from MPP to the Democratic Party. Now, I have not heard of that accusation before. If anybody has any experience with MPP, please let me know. I didn't know that they would accuse people of leeching MPP away from it and to the Democratic Party. To me, it seems like if you have people like Marianne Williamson and Cornel West and Nina and I think Nina Turner also, who are saying that we should vote for Joe Biden. Like, if you're trying to build an organization that's away from the duopoly, why do you have people that are representing you that are saying that we need to still vote for the Democrats. That makes no sense to me. And so it doesn't make sense to me either why you would accuse people that were in your organization that were of being infiltrators for the Democratic Party. I don't know, but I just haven't heard of MPP accusing people of being infiltrators that come from the Democratic Party. I've never heard that before. This level of slander and mistreatment of volunteers who have differences in opinion will not be tolerated by our revolution, Los Angeles. While all of our members are free to participate in any organization they choose, we also would like to be clear about the status of our formal relationship to MPP at this time. We take seriously that many have followed in our footsteps to support MPP, and we support every individual and organization's right to decide where their efforts are best directed. We feel it is our responsibility, however, to be open to such parties about this change. Our revolution, Los Angeles, has always been and will continue to be committed to electing representatives to government who represent people over profit, policy over politics, and community over corporations. Our platform can be found here. Such goals are our number one priority. We look forward to supporting candidates, individuals, and organizations who align with this purpose and continuing to embrace the foundational principles of our organization, which, above all else, transparency, democracy, getting money out of politics, and fighting for a peaceful, dignified future for all. So I do want to say though, this doesn't mean that our revolution is better than MPP. Like I've heard that there's disorganization within our revolution as well, in our revolution Los Angeles. But regardless, if the testament from our revolution and all these other activists that are unsatisfied with what MPP was doing is true, then this is not something worth following. So I do want to read a few more tweets here. This is from Jerry Perez. Jerry Perez, he was on the Jimmy Dore show. He was a Marine veteran, and this is what he had to say. He said, "I am Jerry Lee Perez, junior Marine veteran and local organizer. I was the West Coast Regional Coordinator of the People's Party US, National Coordinator of Veterans for the People's Party, and Field Director of Our Revolution LA. I will be releasing a statement tomorrow on why I resigned." So he did release a statement, and let me pull it up for all you guys to see. It's very long. I can have the document linked here in the description for you guys to read. I'm not going to go through all of it, but pretty much it's very similar to what the statement that Our Revolution LA said, in which, it was really disorganized and there was a lot of miscommunication with people that are on the ground. And here's another thread that was released by another person who was unsatisfied with MPP. Tristan Mendez, he said, "This thread will be my detailed experience of People's Party and everything that I personally did and everything that went down. This may take a while to post, so any questions will have to receive a delayed response." So he was talking about how there was a lot of missed opportunities, how MPP could have branded itself more and had more sponsorships. It pretty much talks about how there was a lot of ideas for MPP to collaborate more with like high school students and stuff, and then in the end it ended up not working out entirely. I mean, to me it seems like the only successful thing that MPP accomplished was having a convention filled with a bunch of people that have big platforms, these progressive celebrities talking about how the Democratic Party is bad and that we need a third party. That's pretty much all it was. There was no detailed plan of what they're going to do. There wasn't enough talk about foreign policy and talk about our civil liberties, talk about whistleblowers like Julian Assange, things that could help unite people on the right and the left. It was more so just a lot of platitudes that people that used to support Bernie Sanders would agree with. And lastly, there is a statement by Evelyn Garcia. She was the vice chair for Our Revolution LA. She was also at the People's Convention, in which she was talking about how she escaped, her family escaped Fidel Castro, as if Fidel Castro wasn't a revolutionary who was fighting off U.S. imperialism. That was a big red flag for me, but I mean, we're gonna try to raise people's consciousness, right? But then she was also saying that she helped Cenk Uygur out in his campaign. If you're so focused on trying to help Cenk Uygur as opposed to helping out other activists for other issues, that tells me that you're not focused enough on bigger issues that are happening than to help some guy, Cenk Uygur, for his campaign run, who in the end is going to be another neo-progressive in Congress. So she said, as the former vice chair of Our Revolution LA and former member of the petition group referenced in Our Revolution LA statement, I thought it important to address this press release regarding People's Party US. Here's my statement, and it's really long. I'm going to have it linked in the description for you guys to read. She was talking about how there was infiltrators with bad intentions that were there. In the end, what this looks like to me, coming from her, coming from all these other people, is that they're all pointing fingers at each other. Nobody wants to take the blame for the disorganization and the failure of MPP to reach more people during this time. And it just really shows that MPP is not the way to go. It's not the way to go. We need to build more communities online and on the ground. We need to share more information among each other within those communities and try to figure out ways in which we can convert more people to get out of the matrix, to understand that the duopoly is an illusion. We need to build more unity between different activist communities, kind of like what we saw when we went to the Force to Vote rallies, and then we had those same people go to the Julian Assange rallies. That is how we get, eventually, a general strike. If we have all these movements coming together, going to each other's events, supporting one another, meeting different people, exchanging information that way, that is how you can create more systemic change than to, try to start a third party while not doing anything about the election integrity problem and the systemic problems we have with our elections and suppressing third parties. I mean, the Movement for a People's Party only has ballot access in one state, which is Maine. There could be one more, but as it stands right now, I think they only have ballot access in Maine. But I could be wrong on that. And man, again, I wanted to have faith in the Movement for a People's Party, but it's an awakening for people. It's for us to realize that this is not the way to go. And I admire Jimmy Dore. He was an inspiration for me to inform myself and to be more active and to start a channel. But he's gotta be more in touch and realize that the Movement for a People's Party is a failure. If it's this disorganized now, how do we hope to achieve anything? How do we hope to take down the duopoly by 2024? I just don't see it happening. And the better route that I see that we can do is what I mentioned, is build more communities online and on the ground, and to organize more and go to more protests and meet more people, more community building. So that's all I have for you guys today. Don't forget to like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Rockfin and on Odyssey. Links to those are in the description. YouTube is hitting me really hard right now. They're hitting Combo Couch, Nico House. We are demonetized, and we're putting a lot of labor into this, and YouTube is pretty much treating us like slaves and trying to silence our voices. Take care, everybody, and don't forget to stay informed.